Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Bloodwood Road Entity, New South Wales. I'm an auto enthusiast. I live in Sydney. Be out for a Friday night drive, about 90 minutes ago. Cruising around looking for a decent, long quiet rural road to open shitbox up on. Find one after a good while, tearing down it. Nothing down there but a school at the end. It kinda ends in a crossroads after this school, two of which go nowhere and the other leads on for a fair way into the bush, with the occasional house. It's just been blowing a gale for the last 2 days, so there's a fair amount of fallen sticks and leaves, so ride is a tad slower than expected. Road is quite narrow all the way. Meh, shitbox can handle no worries. Driving down at maybe 60 kilometers an hour on average. No street lights, high beams aren't the best but they help. About 5 minutes in I notice the radio of my car is quiet. Fiddle with volume, nothing. It's tuned right but no sound or static. Check other stations, same thing. Little concerned by this. I say shitbox, but my car isn't old nor in any condition aside from the usual 4 years of wear. Decide to turn it off. Continue down this road. Notice on the side of the road there are what I would call strange looking plants. They extend about 2 feet high and spread out in the perfect shape of a skeleton hand, 4 tall limbs and a shorter thumb, lower down. Brain immediately draws this connection about them. At first it was one every few hundred meters, but as I drive on they become more and more dense. About 5 kilometers down this road and the surface seems to suddenly become darker. The random debris and sticks on the road disappear too, so ride is quieter. Drive on feeling a little uneasy for another few kilometers until I reach the end of the road. Road ends at a gate for a fire trail. I passed another entrance to something similar about 1 kilometer before the end. Head back still feeling uneasy. Arrive at what seems like the entrance to a national park. Can't read the sign from the car. Get out with a torch. I start walking over to it and I'm about 10 feet from the car when I suddenly realize something is very fucking wrong. The wind has stopped. It was windy all the time I've been driving and it's still windy as I'm typing this. But as I was standing there, total stillness. Silence. Serious fucking silence. I don't know how many of you are from Australia, but normally the bush has some noise, even quiet, but there was nothing here. Fuck the sign. Really starting to freak out now. Retreat back to car, left the lights on and door open, thank fuck. Get back in the car. Sit there before I turn the engine back on. Real fucking uneasy, but for some reason I turn the lights off for a split second. There are no houses this far out, by the way. The last one is maybe a kilometer down the road. Look at the entrance for the park. There's a small orange dot in the dark. Can only guess it was the light of a cigarette end. And I have no plan on sticking around to see who's out this far, with no car, punching darts in the pitch black. Gun it out of there, seriously freaking the fuck out at this point. Desperate to get off this fucking road, to see a building, light or sign of civilization. Tearing down this road. Don't feel much better coming to the first houses. Keep driving excessively fast for the road. Driving on the other side of the road, skidding a little on corners and shit. Come to probably the longest straight in the road, maybe 5 kilometers from the crossroads. See a figure walking on the side of the road with a light. Initial senses scream no, but as I approach I can tell it's a person. I pull up alongside them. Woman, maybe late teens, early 20s, brown hair and wearing casual clothing. Are you all right?
Not really. My bus missed my stop and dropped me off out here, and I'm pretty scared. It's just so bloody dark, and you're the first car I've seen in 10 minutes.
I'm still freaked from the national park entrance thing, but I heard her clear enough. There were no bus stops down this road, which confused me, and I didn't see any other car all the way. But she was obviously lost and felt uneasy too. Never actually picked up a hitchhiker before, but I felt like there would be some unseen danger sitting in the darkness that would harm her if I drove off. Do you know where you're going? Would you like a lift? She looks behind her and around into the darkness.
Yes. Please.
Clearly unsettled from her voice, she climbs in and we drive on. She asks what I'm doing this far out. Tell her I was out for a drive but got more than I bargained for. Tell about the end of the road, the silence and the cigarette in the dark. She seems further freaked. I'm not settled at all either, but having another person helps. Tells me she could hear twigs cracking behind her and in the bush to the side all the time she'd been there. She'd been using her phone as a light since it had no signal to call anyone, but it was almost dead when I came along. Night in shining shitbox.png. Hang on. Did you say cracking twigs behind you? I look at the side of the road. I'm still 3 kilometers or so from the crossroads. On the way here, there were maybe 20 of the skeleton hand plants every 100 meters. There are none, not one. No fucking way am I not seeing them or something, they're gone. Okay, that's really odd. Explain to her, both further unsettled. Start driving fast, normally cautious with a passenger, but I don't think either of us were concerned. Get to crossroads maybe 2 minutes later, tear on down past the school and off the lead-in road. Drive to the nearest town to this woman's house. Give her my number before she leaves. Tell her to call if shit like that ever happens again. Wasn't trying to flirt, but she took it without hesitation. Her mother or someone is on the porch waiting for her. She thanks me gratefully and runs to hug mother. They go inside before I drive off. Pull out. Feeling much better now that I'm in a town. Think about telling a friend who's been down that road with other group to explore a national park, only at daytime though. Decide against it and to write this green text. Drive home and type this up. I swear to the gods I am not making this up. This actually happened to me only a few hours ago.
I often go for drives in the national parks around Sydney, and at night they are always booming with the sound of birds or insects, and especially wind. I can't imagine how unsettling that must have been. OP. Have you looked at the street view on Google Maps of this place?
Yeah, I just have been right now. It's really fucking strange. The street view is nothing like what the road is really like. It shows it as ending as a marked road but seems to indicate that the rest of it is that dirt trail. In reality, there's a T-junction at the end. Left leads to the gate I turned around in front of, and I don't know where the right leads. Also lots of sprawling trail roads, but aside from the national park entrance and the odd driveway, there's nothing. The distances are also off. It's indicating it's only about 2 or 3 kilometers long, but I swear to God it was at least 6 or 7 kilometers. Could have been afraid of overjudging, but still. This is my interpretation of what it was really like. Distances between things are off, but like I said, it must have been 6 kilometers minimum. Refer to my op post for actual estimated distances. I'm considering returning tonight with some more light and larger balls. What should I do, lads? I went back. Okay fellas, you all remember me from Friday night when I went for a drive and ended up down a quiet back road in northern Sydney. Saw some weird ass orange dot glowing in the darkness and rescued a girl from what was probably a hobo attack. Well, guess what? I went back for some god-forsaken reason, and boy, I'm typing this from the adrenaline rush, but I figured out what the dot was. To the guy who said it's homeless people, you were partially right, but it's a lot fucking worse. Be me. Yet again, no more than an hour ago. Driving, come to lead-in road. It's just rained a little. You know that fog you see on the ground in cemeteries in horror films? Well, that was everywhere and thick. Driving faster than on Friday because of no fallen debris. Uneventful tear assing down the road. Come to crossroads, actually stop for the first time and have a major second thought. I tell myself, 10 minutes. No more, and overcome common sense. Can still remember the road plus no debris so I can drive faster, 70 km/h on average. About 200 meters down the ground fog gets really heavy. It's actually reducing my full beams but not by much. Continue at 60. See only one of the weird ass plants, the rest are still gone. Actually on the lookout for bus stops this time, can't see any though. Somewhat creeped out, but it's just from the atmosphere plus my last experience of this road. Continue driving, getting excessively fast for the conditions. Get to where the national park entrance is, keep going. Fuck, this corner is tight, I say aloud to myself. Back wheels skidded slightly and caught me off guard. Deja vu. GIF. Regain control, no worries, I'm good at driving stupidly and I know my shitbox well. The second I pass the national park, I instantly get the feeling something is wrong. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a capsule of fear burst in my stomach. I felt suddenly sick. Feel as if I turn at the T-junction and go towards the fire trail gate. I will meet my doom. Heart is going like a war drum. Since my body won't allow me to turn the steering wheel that way, I do the only logical thing I can think to do. Handbrake turn in this T-junction. Seems like slow motion, but I lose most of my speed. And then I fucking see it. It's a lot brighter than before because I can see it even with high beams on. No more than 70 meters ahead of me is a brightly glowing orange dot, smack bang in the middle of the road. The only way in or out of where I was, and it was blocking my exit. All I can really compare it to is one of those roadside reflectors, but there are none down this road. Being the mild artist I am, I brought a few things with me, including a combat knife, a flashlight and lighter. I don't smoke. Take a flashlight. It's one of those real powerful mag lights. Shine at the thing through the windscreen to get a better look at the guy smoking in the middle of the road. Although it's brighter than any dart I've ever seen, I still assume that's what it is. It's humanoid but very, very dark. Can't make out any clothing or facial features apart from the orange dot that sits right between where its eyes should have been. I freak the fuck out and nearly shit myself. This dark black humanoid with a glowing orange dot in its head and no facial features is blocking my exit. I stare at it for precisely 5 seconds before it starts moving forward. As it walks, its legs seem to grow thinner but freakishly taller. The rest of it also stretches except the head. This thing stops at maybe 8 or 9 feet high but continues pacing forward. Mind kicks in. I slam the car into reverse and back up to the T-junction as far as I can retreat, still locked onto it. It does not stop moving towards me. I fail to notice the other movement until they are visible, but 4 men dressed in what I would describe as homeless attire emerge from the bush on the side of the park. They are all staring at me. I know they can't actually see me against the headlights, but I swear I could feel their gaze.
Type this shit out in Notepad beforehand and just copy pasta into posts.
I get my writing skill is shitty here, and this sounds like I'm just making it up as I go, but I would not be sitting in bed at 11:40 p.m. on a weekday night making up bullshit for X by choice. I'm just telling what I saw in as much detail as my brain took in. You can believe it or you can tell me I'm making shit up anyway. These fuckers ignore the orange dot-headed thing walking at me and just stare. It reciprocates. They seem completely out of it but definitely human. Not religious but pray aloud to anything listening to help me. Of course, no divine intervention. Thing is maybe 30 meters away from the car at this point, fully visible in high beams. I'm trapped like a rat. I either floor it, potentially kill it, or have it kill me and ruin my car. Sit here and accept my death, or try and stab a 9 feet tall black humanoid with a 6-inch knife. I get about a second to choose, decide fuck it, my life is worth more than my car. Into first and floor it. As I shift into second, the thing leaps and pushes me to the edge of a heart attack. Its legs recoil like elastic as it leaps straight up. Lands behind me, can see it in the mirror. It turns and I see the orange dot, disc glowing. I can almost feel the rage and malice emanating from it. And then it screams. The best way for me to describe this to you is to tell you to Google Chuma Scream from The Big Les Show, lower the pitch by 300% or so and play it at 50% speed. This deep, human-like full-on scream. This must have been loud enough to be heard by the residents of the nearest house for sure. It was at least 20 meters behind me when it screamed and my ears rang for a minute after. The four men standing on the side of the road, whom I can barely see, start running. Catch a slight glimpse of them in my taillights, but they can't catch a car. Can still see the orange dot though, and it's bobbing as if it's running. Can't see its body though. My heart is in my throat and I am going to throw up. I'm in no state to drive. I race my way back to the crossroads sort of autonomously, pull the handbrake on and throw myself out. Vomit like a 16-year-old who's just chugged a bottle of vodka. Retch for at least 5 minutes before I collapse over the bonnet and struggle back into the driver's seat. Drink water, crack the window. Drive very slowly until my adrenaline rush clears and my heart moves from my throat to my chest. Drive home with a mild shake. Can't be arsed pre-typing, start rambling Greentext. Hands still slightly jittery. Going to sleep now. Will provide a sketch of what I saw in the morning. Good night, X. If I don't return you can guess what happened. This is a POV shot of me sitting at the T-junction awaiting my impending doom as the fucker moves forward. And here it is in more detail, not that there is much.
Unknown reflector thing. Okay, I just saw something and I think you guys would know more than me about this, so here goes. I was driving home about 20 minutes ago down a road with bush on either side climbing up a hill. I hadn't seen another car in maybe 5 minutes when my radio suddenly shat itself and went silent. It was so sudden it scared me. I tried to fix it but just kept driving. Maybe 3 minutes later, as I'm coming around a large sweeping bend, I see what I think is one of those orange reflector discs mounted onto a pole by the side of the road, but it was something completely different. I had high beams on and I clearly saw this fucking thing, all black with the disc in the center of its head, standing in the shrub just off the road. It was humanoid but seemed slightly stretched proportionally. Needless to say, I shat my dax and floored it to get home without looking back. If I had a dash cam I'd post it, but I'm poor so this shitty iPad drawing will have to do. I'm from Sydney, by the way.
Someone left one of these on the side of the road. I'm a civil engineer.
There's no way it could have been one of them. I was looking directly at it when I realized it wasn't a reflector disc and it was definitely humanoid in shape.
Hi Anon. Sydney friend here. Where did you see this? I'll go and investigate and report back.
Here, if I go any further than this, then some edgy 12-year-old will triangulate the map's circle and figure out where I live, so this is the closest reference I can give.
That's interesting to say the least. From what I can gather, both encounters, those and this thread, describe the same entity. It possibly projects some form of time dilation, as the original OP who first encountered it said he was driving significantly longer than it would be possible to drive down said road, and for this 8 minutes on a road like this, coming from this post seems way too long. Given that no one spare these two have ever seen or heard of it before, it is likely a highly reclusive entity that has been driven into activity for whatever reason.
OP's sighting and last year's sighting also shows a resemblance to another thread from a while back.
Side note, go check out Chas's video on the South Australian tall man.
That Facebook Messenger screenie is from the guy from Woomera in South Australia who saw that and some other weird shit, but he never mentioned the eye. There's a funny resemblance though by the eye. Also, if I had to guess, I'd say it's some form of endemic species or something that was left here from another world. I can't exactly say what point it broke off the tree of evolution or what form, but if it's natural, it has to be there somewhere, assuming it evolved from bacteria in the same manner as all life did.
Assuming the orange shit is an eye, that being. If it is the thing from Woomera, it's either migrated to Woomera and been left behind or migrated from Woomera. Or there's multiple populations and the eye thing is a mutation.
It just seems strange to me that there are so many similar reportings of the some nature and description, minus the I thing, which by two accounts is now just a Sydney region-based description. The key point that makes this or breaks this is the fact that both posts are within a few kilometers of each other.
Yeah, they're too close to call it something else. Perhaps it's some form of subspecies of this thing that has a glowing, reflective thing for whatever reason?
Either way, I plan to find out. I feel like it only appears once a year or for a very short duration before disappearing again.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember that all videos have been archived on the Odyssey page.